Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Movie Scale Podcast. We are finally back after a short hiatus. I'm one of your hosts, Art,
And I'm Brian.
and we're gonna be talking about Keanu Reeves.
Keanu.
Yes, so we're gonna be talking about some of our favorite films of his, and how I don't know how pretty much he's the talk of 2019, pretty much.
This is his year.
This is his year, yeah.
This is the how did I hear this? The Keanu Renaissance.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, he's had movies throughout the decades, or not decades.
Yeah, decades.
Yeah,
Since the 80s,
right.
right?
Yeah. So I mean, small parts, big parts. We're gonna be giving our top. Well, yeah, our top five. But we're also gonna be talking about some of our favorite films from him that aren't on our top five. So yeah, it's gonna be a good episode. Stay tuned.
I think pretty much the reason for this podcast is we're just gonna tell you how good Keanu Reeves is as a person. Not even about the movies. We're just gonna talk about him.
We're all around Keanu Reeves podcast right today.
About him, what he does throughout his day, what he cooks for breakfast.
That's kind of creepy.
Imagine just scoping out his whole life, just like what.
I think not too long ago, a couple of years ago, someone broke into his house. Actually,
Really?
yeah, I think he actually confronted them as well too.
I am John Wick. Right?
Like exactly.
How do you think that played out? Like you just break into
Keanu Reeves' house? I want to know if they actually knew it was his house or they broke in and they saw who it was and like, oh shit, like. Let me go back.
Yeah, I seen videos of you with real guns.
Yeah, it's like I seen The Matrix.
Yeah,
Let me just walk away.
I'm a big fan, but let me just leave.
Yeah, but I understand you have some questions for me, or
yeah, I'm gonna say that towards
the end.
Yeah, maybe towards the end, a little later.
Okay, so what we could start off with is some recent news that came out about Keanu Reeves is The Matrix 4 is coming out. They don't have a date, but he's already signed up for it. I think he's the only person I've heard of him. It was him signing up. I haven't heard anything about Lawrence Fishburne or anybody else.
I know that Carrie Ann Moss is gonna be in it.
Oh, she signed up for it too.
Yeah, okay. It was as far as I know, Keanu Reeves, Carrie Ann Moss, and Lana.
For some of our first-time listeners or who don't know who she is, who she play in the movie?
She plays the Trinity in the movie.
Yeah. That's Trinity, and then of course Keanu plays Neo. But yeah, that's cool. So they're both signed up.
Yeah, and we have one of the directors, which is Lana Wachowski.
Okay,
right?
okay.
And
so they're not both doing it.
As far as right now, no, not that I know of.
That's surprising.
Yeah, but
they're always the ones that do it together.
But I think with those three names is enough for me to
yeah.
be excited
I mean, just The Matrix and Keanu Reeves. I mean, I'm in. I'm surprised too because spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen the Matrix movies. Just letting you guys know, there's a big spoiler coming. Doesn't he die in the last one?
As far as I remember, yeah, because I mean it's been years since I watched.
It's been a while, yeah.
And I remember I don't enjoy that movie. Only
it was one of the least favorites.
Yeah, only because I love the first one so much.
Right.
You know, and then I felt like from the first one going into Revolutions, I felt like it was just like a gradual, like decrease from the first one.
I mean, like most sequels, that's how it is, right? They could never live up to the original.
Usually, I mean, there's expectations sometimes, but I mean,
there's some that are like, oh, that was almost as good as the first, right. Or it was better than the first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really rare when that happens.
Yeah, but I mean, for me at least, some of his films live up to that. Some of his sequels.
Well, actually, one of the questions I did have for you was what was the first movie that you ever seen of Keanu Reeves?
The first movie I've seen with Keanu Reeves was Point Break. Point Break was the first one, just because, and it was in Spanish. My dad used to watch Telemundo, like any Hispanic father.
Right.
And I remember this one time he was watching Point Break. And it wasn't even Keanu that I saw. It was Gary Busey's character. And I remember him from, was it Predator 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember seeing him on that, and I was like, oh, I mean, he was all right in that movie. Let me see how this one is. And then that's when Johnny Utah came out. And then Patrick Swayze was like, oh, by the way, Johnny Utah is Keanu Reeves' character in Point Break. Yeah, that was the first film. I was like, oh, this is a heist film. It's like, this is perfect. It's got guns. You know what I mean? And they got really good actors. I mean, at the time, I was like, oh, I know these actors. You know what I mean? I didn't know Keanu Reeves. I knew Patrick Swayze and I knew Gary Busey. But Keanu Reeves was like a new, like
was a whole new person.
Yeah, I was like, oh, who's this guy? And then once I saw that movie, I was like, oh, his character's so badass. I want to be him, you know? But yeah, that was the first film, and telling you right now, that one is on my top 5.
Top 5, huh?
Yeah.
The first time I've ever seen like Keanu Reeves was just introduced to me was from my memory. I believe Hardball was the first movie I've ever seen.
You know what? Didn't we watch that movie together? I mean, I know it wasn't the first time we watched it.
I think maybe years ago.
Yeah, I remember me and you would watch that movie a lot when we were younger.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And it was a movie that I did catch on early, and something that kind of stuck to me, and something that's kind of became a little gem in
it really is. It's a really good movie.
And I feel like that is a little gem on his resume. On his filmography, you know?
I feel like he has a lot of movies like that. I feel like there's a lot of movies he's made that have been overlooked.
Young Michael B. Jordan in that movie.
Yeah.
He's the little kid that he gets upset for whatever reason, and he leaves the team, and he comes back towards the third act of the movie, and spoiler alert, the movie's been out for 25 years, but
it's a really good movie. I mean, I have a list. I have a list here.
Diane Lane in it. Mm-hmm. That's also in it. It's been a while since I watched it, but it's definitely one that whenever I do see it on, I'll always just stop and watch it.
I mean, what I loved about it, by this time when I watched this movie, I knew who Keanu Reeves was.
Right.
I had seen Speed by this point, The Matrix. You know what I mean? Wait, was The Matrix? Yeah, this
99,
right? And then
Hardball came out before.
Was it?
I believe so.
I
you know what? I might be completely wrong.
I honestly thought it came out in like the early 2000s.
You might be right.
Yeah, 2001.
2001.
So
okay.
it was
a couple years after.
It was like 2 years after The Matrix.
Okay.
So I knew who he was, and I mean, I love baseball, you know. So that just added on to it. It's like, oh, it's a baseball movie. Let me check it out.
Right.
And it has Keanu Reeves in it. Cool. It was cool. It's a really cool story. It's basically he was a gambler, right?
And yeah, pretty much. He was a gambler in debt, and he honestly, I don't remember the plot of the movie. I don't remember the main reason why he started coaching the team.
I think he had a friend or something like that asked him, hey, can you coach the team for us, and then I'll pay you like a certain amount, you know what I mean?
I think you're right.
That's what it was. And then so I was like, all right, cool. But in the middle of this, the reason he was in need of money because he's a gambler and he owed this guy money, so he took the job for that. And so he goes into this urban area, projects pretty much, to teach all these young black kids baseball. Well, I mean, they know how to play baseball. They just needed a coach.
Set in Chicago.
It's in Chicago, yeah. So, so he goes. It's pretty much like Bad News Bears.
Yeah,
but
I guess you can say that, just in a different.
But black kids
in a different light. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, that's what it is.
It pretty much shows the hardships of urban living. You know, the projects, the ghetto. Right. You know what I mean? That's what it was.
Kind of having that, kids kind of trying to stay out of
trouble. That's what they did. They try to find activities. Their parents had put them to do activities. You know what I mean? Instead of joining these gangs or doing stuff they weren't supposed to.
It's fun. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's funny. We're doing a Keanu Reeves episode and we're talking about hardball. like it's like, who talks about hardball in this movie? You know,
but I
it's
mean,
not. It's like no one know. Like I bet you anything. Like
only the real ones know about this
like,
movie. You
the
know what I mean?
hardcore Keanu Reeves fans, or even just like, it was an early movie in his career where like people didn't even though it was after, The Matrix. There's a lot of people who don't know about this movie. It's kind of.
I run into a lot of people who like.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all right. I run into a lot of people, and they're like, "What's hardball?" You know what I mean? I was like, "What?"
I remember there was this. I remember they used to show it on TNT a lot.
Oh yeah, I used to watch it on TNT a lot.
When I wouldn't go to school, there was this TV show called Hardball with whatever the host's name was. Mm-hmm. And when I was younger, I always used to think it was the Keanu Reeves movie. And so I always used to click on it and change the channel to TNT. And I used to be so upset and so like flustered. I'm just like, opposite. Really? Like, this is the damn. I don't even know what the TV show was about. I was just hoping it was with Keanu Reeves and hopefully I see some damn baseball or whatever.
That's great.
But you know what? Talking about hardball, I want to talk about some of the earlier stuff that he was into, kind of like the stuff that made him Keanu, who he was in the 90s. But
please teach me. I mean
nothing.
I don't know.
I have to teach you. I mean, he did a few like TV movies, a few episodes in the mid 80s.
I know he made a movie with River Phoenix called My Private Idaho. I think that's the one that pretty much broke him out. Yeah,
and I heard his their performances on the movie are actually pretty decent.
I never seen the movie. I'm kind of upset that I haven't seen the movie. I don't know. It seems pretty interesting. Like, I heard they were really good friends.
But before that was Point Break.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think Point Break,
was it?
I would say Bill and Ted was his breakout role.
Bill and Ted, for me, I mean, it seems like it's like a cult classic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get. Maybe it was something that people caught on to later on.
Oh, later on, yeah.
After Point Break, maybe?
Probably.
Maybe even after Matrix?
I think for, like, some people, Point Break, after Point Break, and then, like, The Matrix came out. And, like, because who's this guy, you know what I mean?
In 1989, you have Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Okay.
Going on that, he did a couple episodes, smaller parts on some movies. Nothing that got him really big. But in 1991, he had his breakout role with Point Break.
Okay.
And then the movie that you mentioned, My
Private
Idaho, which was also in the same year, 1991. And he has a total of 3 movies in 1991, which is, he was busy that year.
Yeah.
He had Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey in 1991 as well. Sequel to the
Bill
first one.
Yeah.
He was in Paula Abdul music video. He's not credited as it is. Right. It's uncredited. But, and then 92, you have Bram Stoker's Dracula. After that, there's an early movie in his career directed by Kenneth Branagh called Much Ado About Nothing. It's based on a Shakespeare play. I don't know if you ever seen it.
I've never.
It has Denzel.
I've never even heard of it.
In it. It's an interesting movie. It's a movie you would need to see for yourself, for your own thoughts.
I'll check it out.
94, you have another big hit with Speed.
Speed with Sandra Bullock, co-starring,
and
man, that's
and Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges was in that movie.
Jeff Bridges. Not Jeff Bridges.
No, Jeff Bridges is not in that movie. You're thinking about the guy from Dumb and Dumber.
What am I thinking? Jeff Daniels.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like,
not Jeff Bridges.
Bridges is in this movie. What?
I was so convinced it was Jeff Bridges. No, Jeff Daniels.
Well, you know what? Jeff Bridges is actually, I think you probably gotten confused with the first name, Jeff, but he also came out in a movie that was not similar, but it it dealt with explosives.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, I forget what it's so. Oh man,
Blown Away.
Blown Away. Yeah, no, not Blown Away. Is it Blown Away? Yeah, is that with Tommy Lee Jones?
I believe so.
Yeah, Blown Away with Tommy Lee Jones. You probably got confused with that.
I don't think so.
No?
I think it was just the name.
I would have got confused with that.
I think it was just the name because I haven't thought about Blown Away in forever.
But yeah.
But just,
back to Keanu.
Exactly. And continue going down the his filmography. After Speed in 94, he has these action movies, these small little movies trying to really build his name and trying to become the star. He has that one action movie called Jonic Mnemonic. I believe that's how it's pronounced.
Wasn't that like a cyberpunk kind of thing?
It was kind of whatever. It kind of reminds me of Running Man.
Okay.
With Arnold.
Okay.
That's what it kind of reminds me of. But besides that, I mean, after that, you have in 97, you have The Devil's Advocate.
Oh, with Al Pacino.
With Al Pacino and Charlize.
Charlize, right? Yeah, Charlize Theron.
Yeah, and I mean, I have my own thoughts. I mean, we could really get into detail if we really want to in these movies. I'm really kind of just jotting down what kind of going down his list of movies.
I mean, let's start off with one of your favorites. Like, what's one of your favorite Keanu movies?
Let me.
Or should we just start off?
I'm gonna go to the questions.
Okay,
go to the questions I got prepared.
Let's go.
Do you have a guilty pleasure?
Oh, Keanu Reeves movies? Yeah, I actually do.
And as far as like guilty pleasures, if whoever's listening doesn't know, it's kind of a movie that it's kind of not the best movie. It's not that good of a movie, but you still enjoy it for whatever reason. Nostalgia, just
like
whatever. It's just one of those movies.
It could be a movie that did horrible in the box office, that the critics hated, but you loved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that everyone that hates.
Yeah, that's a guilty pleasure. But you just
love that movie.
I have so many, but I think one with Keanu Reeves would probably be Constantine.
I think we're right on board on that because that's the movie I was gonna name.
Yeah, because I know I didn't do great in theaters, and I know a lot of
critically it didn't.
No, and I know a lot of fans of Constantine. If you guys don't know, Constantine is a DC character, comic book character, in the Dark Universe. Pretty much, he hunts down demons, angels, and sends them back to hell or whatever. That's basically what he. I mean, I don't know the complete story of it. I'm not a big DC fan, but that's the gist of it. And I know they twisted some of the story from the comics and all that with the movie.
Right.
But his performance and the actors in this movie, like, I was like, oh, like, this is a really good film. Like, it should have been really good. But I understand why people didn't like it, especially with comic book films.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to nitpick.
They're going to be quick.
Especially if people hold something so close to them.
It's going to have a standard that they want,
When the movie came out, I was stupid young. And I had no idea anything about DC, to be honest with you.
Right.
I didn't have too much knowledge about it. But when the movie came out, I was like, oh, okay, well, it had a little small part with Shia LaBeouf in it, playing the taxi driver and the dude who helps him here and there, drives him around. And, I remember liking him because I remember him from Even Stevens and from Holes.
And that's what I'm saying. It had such a good cast. Like, it had Keanu Reeves.
You have the girl from the actress from Doctor Strange. Her mind is escaping me right now. Who plays the what is her name? Tilda Swinton. That's her name.
Oh, the one who trains Doctor Strange.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
She plays an angel, right?
Yeah, she plays Gabriel. So, the angel Gabriel.
I mean, it's yeah. I mean, if you're not too familiar with,
so she plays him, and then of course, like we said, Shia LaBeouf is in it, and then Rachel, is it Rachel Weisz?
Weisz.
Okay, completely butchered that one, But that's her name. But she's in it too. She's like her Keanu Reeves supporting role.
Yeah, this movie definitely does have good actors and actresses in it.
It's
especially
really cool.
Playing little small little roles.
And he's like, he's a badass. Like he's a dude that everyone knows who he is, but they don't know him. You get what I'm saying? He's mysterious.
Right. And they know of him.
Yeah, they know of him. And so I think that's what was so cool. And then of course, like who wouldn't want to see Keanu Reeves kill demons, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's pretty badass. And he flips off the devil, you know what I mean? He literally flips off, spoiler alert, he flips off the devil at the end.
and talking about the devil, Peter Stormare, who plays the devil, is
yes.
probably one of my...
I love how he came out
character.
2 Keanu Reeves movies. That's pretty cool.
What's the other one?
John Wick Chapter 2.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, right in the beginning. He plays the brother of the mafia
guy in charge
guy.
of like the cars.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is crazy.
And he's also from Prison Break. If you guys, the Russian dude who helps Michael.
Yeah, he's also from Bad Boys.
That's right, Bad Boys.
He plays the club owner.
The club owner for the original the first Bad Boys.
Yeah, first Bad Boys.
Not Bad Boys 2. That's right. Oh man, I completely forgot about that.
But no, I think I remember him being. I remember when I first couple of times when I seen the movie, I didn't recognize him.
Right.
Like he kind of just stood out. I don't know why. Where he usually does stand out because of his accent, and
he usually always plays small parts like that too.
Yeah, and he was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, I think what brought me into this movie a lot is Shia LaBeouf, just because, like you said, even Stevens.
Holes.
Like this is like one of the things that like, oh, cool, he's in it. I mean, I knew who Keanu Reeves was, but I was like, oh, cool, they're both in the movie. Shia LaBeouf didn't really have a lot of parts in it.
No, he had like maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah,
scenes.
But I was like, still, like seeing them in the movie together, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But like I said, the story. I mean, for me, the story of the movie, the way he acted in the movie, his character, I thought it was cool. I loved it. It's a role that Keanu Reeves could play. Those kind of characters, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I have a whole bunch of questions lined up.
Well, wait, hold up, man. What's your guilty pleasure?
Oh, that's right. We need to go to Mike. I mean, I agreed with Constantine.
That's right.
It's, I mean, pretty much one of one that I actually do. I mean, one I kind of have. I do like the first or the second Matrix. There's things I like about it. That's kind of a guilty pleasure where it's enough where I could finish the movie.
Yeah, there's things in the second and third Matrix movies that I like as an overall.
Right.
I was like, yeah, it's not that great, but I love parts in those movies. But yeah, I mean, Constantine.
I would say, you know what? Another guilty pleasure of mine, and I believe I own it. I actually do own it. I'm looking at it right now. Is 47 Ronin. 47 Ronin is another guilty pleasure, which, in my opinion, I think it's not the perfect film. There's a lot of flaws in it. There's it does rely a lot on CGI, and the fact that it's a white man in this who's playing a Ronin.
Right. But I think
this Japanese,
they did a great job explaining that, though. I felt like they did.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, kind of.
They pretty much, he was adopted.
But I mean, I enjoy the movie.
Yeah,
because I enjoy Keanu Reeves. I like anything to do with
samurais, Japanese
culture, because I like anime. I like anime. It's in my ballpark. It's stuff that I enjoy. So.
And just having Keanu Reeves in it, just elevated it.
Exactly.
It was like, oh, this is really great.
It was really easy to like.
I still think it was a good movie. People were harsh, about it. But they did a good job explaining why he was there, why a white man was a Ronin. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was a good movie. Another movie I feel like, he wasn't really a big part of it. The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Okay. It's a significant part.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, it's a remake to the original, which was in the 50s? Yeah,
back in the 50s.
Yeah, 1951. Dude, this movie is great. So basically, what it is like an alien spaceship just lands. Was it in DC? Where the first one that lands?
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was. So basically, he's an alien.
It was actually New York.
Oh, it was in New York?
Central Park.
Oh, that's right, Central Park.
Central Park.
Okay, so I don't know what movie I was thinking of. But yeah, he's an alien that comes from space. And, like, no one knows, like, what's going on. Like, the spaceship just landed. It's surrounded by the military. And then he just comes out, you know?
Same director of Doctor Strange.
Scott Derrickson. Oh, wow. Cool. Yeah, so this movie came out in 2008. And then it has a great cast. It has Keanu Reeves, Jennifer Connelly, Jaden Smith when he was younger.
Oh my! I completely forgot about. Yeah. I forgot he was in that movie.
Yeah, he's in that movie.
He plays the son, right?
Yeah. Well, not his son, but
no, not his, hers.
Jennifer. Yeah. Jennifer Connelly's son, and then it has Kathy Bates, and then John Hamm. I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, there's more people.
John Cleese.
Kyle
Chandler.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And yeah, they all come out in this movie. It's a really good movie. It's like is it apocalyptic? How do you freaking say
It's kind of like a end of the world type of movie. Apocalyptic.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So basically, yeah, that's what it is. I mean,
I would say it's more of an alien invasion movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
/ end the world.
Right. That's a good movie too. I mean, he doesn't play the main character, but the little parts that he's in is like pretty badass.
Should I get into? I don't mean to cut you off, but should we get into the questions that I have?
Shoot me the rest of the questions.
Okay.
What you got?
And obviously we're both gonna answer, but I'm gonna start off. You're gonna start off. What do you think? I already asked you about the guilty pleasures. What do you think, or what is your favorite movie of his?
You want me to give you my top 5?
No.
Or do you want me to give you like my number 1 all time?
You know. Let's start with that. Let's start with. I have jotted down. I know you wrote down your top 5.
Right.
But I have top 3. Just top 3. Just not that too many.
Okay.
What are your top 3 Keanu Reeves movies?
So my number 1, John Wick.
Okay.
John Wick is my number 1. I mean, do I need to explain why? I mean, he plays a badass. You know what I mean? From it's like almost half of the movie, you have no idea who this guy is, but everyone is like scared of him. You know what I mean? And like Keanu Reeves plays those characters so well. Like I said, in the day the Earth stood still, he played a character like what the. He never said anything. Mm-hmm. He was like, "Who is this guy?" Right. Same thing with Constantine. Like everyone knew of him, but they don't know about him. You know, they don't know anything about him.
Right.
And he's just this mysterious guy, and I think he plays those roles really well. And John Wick, well, I mean, the action, it just took you back to those 90s films, 80s films that just completely, like, action films that just shootouts, everything. You know, this one badass could take down a whole army, and it's believable. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, I mean, for me, that was one of the best films. And like I said, what drawed me into it even more is everyone was afraid of him. But you have no idea. Throughout the whole movie, you had no idea who this guy was until the very end. It's like, holy shit, this guy's an assassin. You know what I mean?
And now that you mentioned that, some of my favorite roles, I think Keanu Reeves does best when he doesn't have too many lines in the movie. I think that's why John Wick is so successful. You know, on top of other things.
Yeah, like for him, less is more.
Yeah, I mean, because like you said, he does it in Constantine, and he has a lot of lines, but
they're short.
It's his character's mysterious,
right?
You know, and I'll get into. I'm gonna let you finish your list. I'm gonna tell you. I'll explain other
that's
things.
Why John Wick's number 1, obviously, and then we talked about it already. Constantine, my guilty pleasure, is my number 2. I know a lot of people are gonna disagree. I already know you're giving me looks over here, but I mean, for me, it's my guilty pleasure. What can I say, you guys? It's a
you
film.
Like it.
It's a film that I like. Yeah,
okay.
I've watched it so many times.
I mean, to be place number 2, I mean, technically it's wrong, but it's your opinion.
I mean, you know what? I was fighting it. You know what I mean? People were gonna hate me. And then, of course, my number 3 is Speed, which is a great. I don't know. It's just a great '90s film. Like overall, it's like a great action film.
It's a great action film. I mean, you have Keanu Reeves. I mean, he's a good-looking dude. You know what I mean? Like, he's not bad to look at. It's an action film about this bus not being able to slow down, just driving fast.
Driving
and who
LA.
doesn't like a good like? It's kind of like a car chasing. Like
it pretty much is. It's like it's. Okay, so like, what caught me is like, damn, you have to drive this bus, this big old vehicle, and you can't go any slower than you can't go slower than 50 miles an hour,
right?
Or else it'll explode. And you're in LA, bro. Like you're downtown LA. There's traffic in every street, every highway. This is ridiculous. You know what I mean? So like, wow, this is a really good concept for a film. You know what I mean? And then, of course, you have, now that we know her, Sandra Bullock, her first film, which, I mean, wow, she was great in it. And then Jeff Daniels is in it.
Right.
Which is, I mean, I knew, when I watched that movie, I had already seen him in...
Are you sure it's not Jeff Bridges?
I'm positive it's not Jeff Bridges. I seen him in Dumb and Dumber, so I was like, oh, I know this guy, he's funny, you know what I mean? But...
And what a different role for him.
Well, yeah, I mean, he plays both roles. Like he plays comedy and then like a serious role pretty well. Like when I watch movies with him or shows, I'm not like, oh, I expect him to be funny. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like how I would look at Jim Carrey when he does a serious film, it throws me off because all I'm used to is seeing him in comedies, you know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, they had him in it, and like I said, it's just pure action from the 90s. Explosions, you know what I mean? It's adrenaline, you know what I mean? And like things happen that are impossible, but they just happen in the movie, you know what I mean?
Right.
I love stuff like that. Like I love going to the movies, seeing ridiculous movies, and like okay, for example, Hobbs and Shaw. That movie came out like a couple weeks ago. And like people were just giving it crap because like, oh, this is unbelievable, stuff like that. You can't really do that. I was like, yeah, but that's the whole point about going to the movies, is watching movies and watching things happen that you know won't happen in real life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when you used to play as a kid, you would make believe and do shit that was like, nah, that would never happen in real life. And that's what I love. I love how in movies you could do stuff that don't make sense in real life. You know what I mean? That you could do things as like, oh, that's against gravity, the laws of gravity and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, but that's the point. It's a movie. You know what I mean?
Do you ever think that for either for you or for other people that some of that like logical stuff, I mean, when it's like out of the, you know, like you said, like with Hobbs and Shaw, like when it's out of...
But see, like when it's movies, like, okay, if I'm watching a movie like Spotlight or anything like that, you know what I mean? Then I don't want to see a freaking car just jump from one building to another building for no reason. You know what I mean? I mean, that movie's grounded, like movies like that. But like, if it's an action film and like you could tell that they're going for like the outlandish stuff, like things that you know won't happen in real life. Curving bullets, you know, like in Wanted, like you know that's never gonna happen in real life, but it's really cool to see. Like it's stuff that you imagine when you're a kid or even as an adult. Like when you like wouldn't it be cool to see a fucking bullet curve from the corner of the, you know what I mean? Right, yeah. That'd be pretty cool. It's like, why wouldn't you want to see that in a film? You know what I mean? If you make it believable enough, or you make a compelling like story, not compelling story, but like something believable enough to watch and it's entertaining, then why not? Why not have it? Why bring that movie down? Like the person who did this, the person who wrote it, the person who directed it, like they had a vision. It's like, oh, this would be cool. And there's people like that out there, like, oh, that is cool. But then you could also have your films that are like serious and like are completely in line with reality. You know what I mean? And I think there's a separation. You have to separate yourself when you watch movies like that. It's like, yeah, it's dumb, but it's like it's entertaining to watch.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what Speed was for me. You know what I mean?
Pretty much just knowing like what you're walking into, kind of like what movie, just kind of know what movie you're going to see. Pretty much.
Exactly. Know? And just to throw in my top 5, because I know that was 3. But
go for it. Yeah, because I know you wrote them down. I was actually going to ask you anyways to give me all.
The Matrix is my number 4, and then Point Break is my number 5. The Matrix, of course, is just a groundbreaking film. You know, it's just...
Can I give you, since you give you your top 5, I'm going to give you mine. I was going to give you my 3, but I'm going to give you all 5.
Go for it, man.
And I'm going to cut you off because one of my buttons were just pushed.
You just put Constantine?
No, because you put The Matrix at number 4.
Number 4 on Keanu. This is my list, man. This is my list, okay?
But it's wrong.
Look, I could have put John Wick Chapter 3, and then John Wick Chapter 2 as my top 3. Okay, I could have done that. I could have been that guy, but I wasn't. Okay, I spread it out. All right.
No, because when you put John Wick at number 1, you mean the whole franchise.
No, nah. I just mean the first one, because honestly, the first film is. I mean, I'm not saying the sequels suck,
right?
But John Wick. I mean, like you said, like I was saying in the beginning, like. There's no sequel that could be as good as the first, but...
And I think it's good to say that you're probably a bigger Keanu Reeves fan than I am. Not that I love Keanu Reeves.
Right.
He's great. I love... One of my favorite franchise or trilogies is John Wick.
Right.
You know? One of my favorite action movies of all time. But I think it's easy to say that You probably like him a little bit more than I do.
Yeah, I do.
But for you, I know it's your opinion, but it's wrong. But it's your opinion.
It's your opinion, but you're wrong.
But to have The Matrix at number 4, you know, it's kind of like...
Well, see, here's the thing. Like, okay, like for some people my age, they barely knew Keanu Reeves because of The Matrix.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
so why wouldn't that be his number 1 though?
Because for me it's like, no, you guys are late to the game, bro. Like I knew this dude way before. Like I watched Point Break, you know what I mean? And then I watched Speed. Like you guys are late to this. Right. So like,
but again,
and then Bill Ted.
Again, let me emphasize, it is your opinion,
but you're wrong.
But let me also emphasize that it is wrong. Okay. Okay. And I'm gonna tell you why.
That's your opinion, man.
I'm gonna tell you it. And it's the right one, but I'm gonna tell you why it is right. And my number 1 film of Keanu Reeves is The Matrix.
Wow.
I'm gonna give you the top 5. I'm gonna tell you why.
I'm not even mad at that. No, I respect that
because it's right, but
because it's right,
because it's not wrong. But when you. I'm gonna give you the top 5, and I'll explain why.
Just give me the whole list, and then you'll explain to me.
Exactly.
So you got The Matrix number 1. What's number 2?
John Wick is number 2.
John Wick, okay, I could see that.
Number 3 will be Constantine.
Constantine, okay, I respect that.
Number 4 will be Speed.
Speed, okay.
And number 5, I don't know if I gave this too much thought or little thought, but
The Replacements. That's actually a really good movie. That's a really good Keanu Reeves movie.
I actually might.
And if you like football and you like Keanu Reeves,
that's the movie to watch.
That's the movie to watch right there.
Why not? Who's the actress that's in that movie with him?
I don't know who the actress is. I know it's.
I don't recognize her from anything else.
Jon Favreau's in it, and for the longest, Gene Hackman's in it. For the longest time, I never knew it was Jon Favreau.
No, because he still looks like. Was he a Rudy?
No, that wasn't him in Rudy.
Who was that in Rudy?
No, that's the guy from Stranger Things and The Goonies.
No. The guy who played.
I've never seen Rudy, so my brother was giving me crap the other day about it.
It is Jon Favreau. He's the one. He plays his best friend.
Oh,
he plays Sean Astin's best friend.
I'm sorry, I have no idea who Sean Astin is or who Rudy is.
Sean Astin is the guy from Rudy, the main Goonies.
Oh, that's his real name. I thought you were giving me his character. Like, why is there his name Sean Rudy? Or, I mean, whatever, you know what I mean? I've never seen Rudy. That's what I'm saying.
Disconnected. Podcast is over. But yeah, explode. Okay. All right, number 5. You know what? Number 5 will actually probably be The Replacements.
The Replacements? Yeah, really? I just gave you that answer. You're just going with it?
I'm just probably because I don't want to.
You don't like Point Break, or it's like a movie you never really got into?
I wouldn't put it as my top 5 Keanu Reeves movies.
Really?
Because when I watch that movie, what I'm looking at is Patrick Swayze. He's the one that, when I first watched that movie, he was the one that stood out. And I feel like he was the star of the movie.
Oh, yeah, most
because
definitely.
he was the one I was more intrigued of. He was the one I wanted to learn more about. He was the cool dude who served. Who played football. He was this good-looking dude. And it seemed like everybody kind of like, fell back to him.
That's messed up,
kind of like that's why.
You didn't like Johnny Utah?
Honestly, honestly, that was one of the movies I watched before this podcast and before doing this. And when I was watching his performance isn't that great. It's kind of
Keanu's.
Yeah, it's kind of dated. It's kind of bad.
Well, I mean, it's a '90s film, guy.
But I don't go in for it. I don't go watch the movie for that. And I know that. So it doesn't bother me as much, but if I
there are some movies that have not aged well.
No, there's a lot of movies that I love that haven't aged well.
Yeah.
And Point Break being one of them.
Yes.
And Speed. I like Speed a little bit more than Point Break.
Yeah, it is. It aged well. It aged better than Point Break.
And because both of those movies, I think, they kind of go hand to hand. They were the 2 biggest action movies of the 90s for him, aside from The Matrix. Because obviously The Matrix is his biggest movie.
Right.
But
Well, continue. Continue. We'll debate that later.
All right. I would say the Matrix is his biggest movie, and I think it kind of defined him. Kind of put really the stamp of Keanu.
It made him the big bucks. That's what it did.
I would say it made him the big bucks. It made him a household name. People who are just casual fans, who don't know too much about movies, kind of like we do.
So even with John Wick being out,
yeah,
that whole trilogy, you still think The Matrix is his best?
Because John Wick wouldn't have the impact it would have that it did now without The Matrix.
So you're saying, say The Matrix wasn't out and John Wick came out, mm-hmm. You don't think it would have had the same or even a bigger impact without having the Matrix films, like without knowing who Keanu Reeves was? Say he was just an unknown, mm-hmm. and he made those films before the Matrix.
Right.
It wouldn't make that big of an impact how it has?
Not as big, no.
You don't think so?
I don't think so, no.
I feel like it
because
would've.
I feel like
because he's still the same. He's still the same actor.
It is.
Oh my goodness! You know what?
What?
I missed the film.
What?
I'm sorry. I changed my whole list.
Oh my gosh! What is it?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Go for it. No, I'm interested now.
I'm sorry. I changed my list. So John Wick is still number 1.
I have a feeling I know what I think you're gonna see.
Yeah, and I mean
what you're gonna say.
I don't know why I forgot about this movie because this is one of my favorite movies from him.
I feel like I know what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
So okay, John Wick is still number 1.
Okay.
Constantine. Is number 3 now. So that would knock off. I'm sorry, but it's gonna knock off Point Break.
Okay.
So here's my full list: John Wick, Street Kings, Constantine, The Matrix. That's 5, right?
Was that 5?
John Wick. Yeah, that's 5.
Yeah, it is 5.
That's 5. Okay, so that's my top 5. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. Go ahead and finish your thing, and we'll get back to this.
I think I'm having a panic attack. My heart stopped for a quick second.
Oh, we'll get to this movie. I'll tell you why this is number 2.
I'm curious, and you know what? I don't know if I'm gonna really. I'm just gonna wait for your argument to see what it is, but let me get back to my list.
Okay, continue. Number 1 was John Wick. Number 2. Oh no, I'm sorry.
Go for it. Name
yours.
Your name. Say your list again. I'll name mine right
so
after.
My list is John Wick, Street Kings, Constantine, Speed, and The Matrix. So Matrix is number 5. So your number 1 is my number 5.
Yeah. Wait, The Matrix is number 5?
Yes.
Of Keanu Reeves movies.
Keanu Reeves movies, yes. This is my personal opinion. These are my
You keep saying that, but it is wrong.
I'm 100% sure there's people out there that have a crazy list.
You're in the 1% of the.
Oh my god! There's somebody out there that has the 47 Ronin as like their top 3 or something. I know there is,
and it's probably somebody in this damn basement that's probably the first movie they ever watched, and they probably watched it 100 times. But it's wrong. But okay, that's your top 5. My top 5 would be, to say it again, which I think I'm gonna change it a little bit, would be The Matrix, John Wick, the first John Wick.
Okay.
Constantine.
Okay. You forgot your list.
No, I now have 2 more. Honestly, I don't think Speed's gonna make it.
You're gonna knock Speed off your list.
I think it's The Replacements, and then it's Hardball.
What?
I love Hardball.
And you're giving me crap about being wrong about my list. At least my list has. Oh, never, I'm not even gonna say nothing.
Wait. You have the biggest action movie.
Number 5.
Not only of the 90s, but one of the biggest movies.
Well, I mean, it was like borderline ever. 90s and 2000s.
It was still 90s, 99. It still has the number 9 in the year. 1999. It was groundbreaking as far as, just the idea of being controlled by AIs.
Yeah, but you've seen that in. I mean, not to that aspect. But you've seen that in Terminator.
But you don't see
Judgment Day.
But you don't see the aspects of him dodging bullets, of having this really this idea of the world. What if it's kind of like saying, having this theory and this comment on the world that we're living in, saying that it's kind of almost this.
But if you watch this movie at the age that I didn't get those concepts.
No, but I'm saying when you do think about it, and you do think about like actually factual, what is Keanu Reeves? His biggest movie is The Matrix. And I know you might not agree with it, and I know that I'm
not saying it's not his biggest movie. I'm just saying it's not my top one. It's not my number 5.
You know, it's actually interesting that that we're debating this, because there's other questions I have that kind of do cross lines, and kind of I sometimes don't distinguish them well, or I don't divide them up well. I know I asked you his top 5 movies.
Okay.
That's your top 5 movies of his.
Okay.
Okay. So your favorite movie of all time of Keanu Reeves, which is one of the questions I have down, is John Wick.
John Wick, yes.
Okay. The next movie I have is, what do you think is his best movie? Not your favorite movie, but his best movie.
His best film?
His best film that he has on his resume.
Oh, man.
Because, John Wick being your number 1,
right,
might be your number 1. But what do you think, like, in general, just like if you take into account as far as critical response, as far as...
I still think it's John Wick.
You think that's his best movie to date?
I think that is his best movie to date, yeah.
And I still think you're wrong. But...
like, his best... Okay, it would be John Wick, and in that list, it'd be John Wick and The Matrix.
See, okay.
And that list, and that question, that's that order. It's John Wick and then The Matrix.
Which is still wrong, but...
But as far as my top 5, it's The Matrix is my number 5.
Okay.
In my list.
Okay.
But the question you gave me, his best film for me, or I mean not for me, but to answer your question, John Wick and then The Matrix. Because, okay, yes, The Matrix blew him up, gave him the big bucks, put him on that big screen, blockbuster. He's like, oh, he's able to do this. But then after that, there's years where he just does these films, like smaller films, you know what I mean, that don't...
after what? The Matrix?
After The Matrix.
Okay.
because he did some movies like you said, The Replacements, Hardball, and then he started doing bigger films like 47 Ronin, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And he came out like the day the Earth Stood Still, and small parts like that. He'll do other films,
right?
With small parts, and yeah, people are like, oh yeah, this guy's great. But ever since he hasn't had a big hit at this time period.
Yeah, but is it?
And then John Wick came out, and it hit everybody out. Like it was a surprise. No one I knew about it, but when this movie came out, when the trailer came out,
it was a small movie.
Everyone was like, "What the heck is this?" And it has the guy from The Matrix in it. You know what I mean?
Wait. Okay, let me stop you right there.
No, I know.
Wait. Let me stop you.
Okay, but you gotta think about it. This is a time where kids were like still babies,
right?
Or like they were like little kids,
right?
That never seen The Matrix, never heard of it, and John Wick comes out, and they're like, "Oh snap, this looks really cool."
But I think you're talking about present day.
No,
present time.
No, I'm talking about past too, because there's people in the past like, "Oh yeah, Keanu Reeves, he's cool with The Matrix," but then there's people that I know that have never heard of some of the movies that he made after The Matrix.
Right.
They only know all his old stuff.
Right.
And then once he came out with John Wick, boom, it not only did it bring back his old audiences back, it brought a whole new audience. So when you talk about his biggest and his like most impactful film, I feel like John Wick.
Most impactful though?
Yes.
I can't let this go by.
No, look, The Matrix was an impactful film. But his role was smaller to what the story was. The story of The Matrix was more impactful than his character. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
His character in John Wick is what makes John Wick. It literally has his name
in the title. Right.
That's his, you know what I mean? That was his most impactful film.
Right, okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
That's where I'm coming from. Yes, The Matrix broke grounds in film and story and all that, but that wasn't him. That wasn't Keanu Reeves. Mm-hmm. That he just played a small he's played a part in the bigger picture.
Right.
In John Wick, he is the bigger picture.
Right.
You know what I mean? Without him, that movie would not succeed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whether he did The Matrix or not.
So I think your answer is, and I feel like it's gonna be the same answer for all the questions I'm asking.
John Wick is number one.
But I feel like a lot of what you're telling me is kind of leaking into the other questions I'm gonna ask you. But before I lose my thought on what I want to tell you.
Okay, go ahead, tell me.
Okay, I think talking about the times is really important here, especially with the movie. The movie, Matrix came out in '99, and I do believe The Matrix and John Wick are his biggest movies,
hands down.
And his, like I said, in my opinion, his two biggest movies, and obviously my top two movies of his. But I think you got to think about it, the times in the '90s. And with John Wick, I think it was kind of like both the same thing. With John Wick, it was kind of word of mouth that kind of got the movies going. That's how I found about the movie.
It was the trailer.
You had seen I specifically remember this movie came out in February 2014. Mm-hmm. I remember watching it 2 months afterwards because you had told me about it.
And a lot of people who don't know, January and February are the worst time to release a film because it's considered to be the studio's
like a graveyard.
Yeah, basically. Well, we made this movie, but we have all these other great movies coming out in the summer, so we'll just put it here.
Yeah, because you don't want to compete with those big movies.
Yeah, I mean, not that they're gonna be able to compete with it, but it's like these are just movies we made. Just release them these 2 months.
Right.
But it exceeded expectations.
Well, no, I'm not saying it didn't.
No, I know. I'm not saying you're not, but I'm just saying they got to think about that.
Right.
When was The Matrix released?
99.
But what?
In what month? I wouldn't be able to tell you.
I bet you anything it was a summer blockbuster. I bet you anything.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I wasn't around when the movie came out, so it's kind of there's that aspect where where I could have, where it's like personal experience to history of film, I guess you could say, you know, because if you want to talk about film in all, like, yeah, I have more of a personal connection with John Wick because I remember seeing it in theaters, and the first time I seen it in theaters was actually with you, and now I was able to be alive when I was alive when the other movies came out. But I'm saying, like,
but you were older enough.
I was older enough, and I was already a fan of John Wick, so I was like, I already had expectations of John Wick, you know.
But see, like how you said with John Wick, like it spreaded. I mean, yeah, they did advertisements and stuff like that, but I feel that movie spreaded a lot with like hardcore fans like me, like you were saying. As soon as I seen that trailer, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't even know this guy was making a movie. And I saw the trailer and I sent it out to everyone I knew.
Right.
I sent it out to my friends. I sent it out to you. And then you guys were all like, oh, snap, we got to go watch this. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, Keanu Reeves is just... I don't know. That movie is just insane.
I'm not finished yet.
Okay, go.
Okay. Because I had a point, and I lost it.
I'm sorry.
I'm getting it back now. But my whole point was what John Wick was, and Matrix was released in March.
Okay.
Which is
a month after.
It's not that big.
So pretty much close.
It was made for $63 million.
It made a whole billion.
Which made
I'm just playing. I don't
know.
Like,
I think $435 million or something.
That's
like that.
That's not even counting the sequels.
No, and that's just the first one, and it's ridiculous. But I feel like, at least for me, like when it comes to John Wick and The Matrix, obviously seen The Matrix first. I think word of mouth got to The Matrix because I think everybody in the 90s, you know, I can't talk out of personal experience because I wasn't there when everybody was kind of like, it was kind of like how Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs was for Quentin Tarantino. You know, it was a smaller movie. But at word of mouth, people start talking about it. Have you seen this movie? And I feel like that's how The Matrix was. And I don't think Keanu Reeves gets the part of John Wick without making The Matrix. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the director is one of the stunt coordinators on The Matrix.
But they had worked together before.
On what movie?
Speed. They worked together in Speed.
Okay, even with that, that's what I'm saying. There was a relationship built, and the relationship was built even more with The Matrix, especially because The Matrix had 2 sequels afterwards. I'm not completely sure if he worked on the other 2 movies on the sequels, but I do know I have. Well, my opinion is I don't think he gets the role of John Wick without The Matrix. You don't get the little funny little not the funny but little like Easter eggs with Lawrence Fishburne being in the movie, like, hey, this is another movie they've been in together. Not that they planted that seed of oh, look at this is another movie they're in together. But it was a little fun fact that you're like, oh, they were in The Matrix together. And that was his biggest movie. And look, Keanu Reeves is having this renaissance for some reason, and he's in this movie too with him. His other big movie that's coming, you know, that is making him an A-lister that made him in the 90s.
Right.
And I honestly, you know, as far as all the boxes that The Matrix checks, you know, you have this action star that was built in the 90s, you know, and you have this science fiction film that talks about subjects that films in the 90s weren't really talking about that much. I mean, yeah, you had it before, and you had different things, but to like talk about how we're pretty much in this simulation of this world, you know, the idea of AIs, even though we had them back then, we had 2001 Space Odyssey, you know, we had stuff like that, and we had other earlier
it 90s. Pretty much just broke into how the time was. Computers were growing at the time,
and not only that, the action was good. It was, you know, the scenes where Lawrence Fishburne and Keanu were in the dojo, and they were,
that's where it brings it back to, like, when films do stuff that, well, that doesn't make it, it's not believable.
Right.
You know what I mean? But this one made it believable.
Because I think it's part of the world.
Right.
I don't think Keanu is who he is without the Matrix, as big as he is. And I do believe that if it wasn't Keanu Reeves in John Wick, I don't think it would be the same.
I agree with you. Without the Matrix, there would not be no John Wick because, like you said, he formed a relationship with the stunt coordinators who directed John Wick. You're right. I accept that part.
Okay.
I accept that part. But as far as like this whole renaissance with Keanu Reeves right now, I feel like John Wick is what started it.
I could agree with that. I could agree that this little renaissance, the little thing that that Keanu Reeves is having, did start off with John Wick. Because you had John Wick, and then he probably did like a couple movies in between, and then John Wick 2 came out, and then, you know, he's having all these little small cameos. I mean, just this year alone, he was in Toy Story 4, and then he was in this small little comedy that nobody thought of, called Always Be My Maybe
on Netflix.
Which
is a really good movie.
It's actually a really good movie. It's
and I love his
sweet and funny movie.
Yeah.
And
he plays himself. Well, not
really. I have
himself,
a theory about his role in that movie.
You really think that's how he is?
No, I feel like the director and the writing and their approach to Keanu's role in that movie was, I think this is what everybody's idea is of him. You. Like, I think everybody assumes he's like, it's Keanu. He's the nicest guy in Hollywood. But then maybe there's this little conspiracy theory that maybe Keanu Reeves isn't this super nice guy. Maybe he is this douchey, lavish.
That's blasphemy.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna get a tag when I'm done with this. But like, I had thought of this theory, just that.
I mean,
all we see of him is obviously what we see on camera. Like,
hey, I seen that man
interviews.
I seen that man on the subway get up and give his seat to a lady.
No, I seen that too. That was pretty nice. I've done that too. But anyways, the Keanu Reeves episode. But I think it was just like a little fun little play. Like, because when you first meet Keanu, he walks in and is like, obviously he's this big A-lister. But then also is like, he's this super nice guy that everyone obviously, it's kind of obvious that he wears on his sleeve that he's this really humble, down to earth, nice guy. And I thought it was just really fun that they played a part too, where it was kind of completely opposite, but he was still playing himself in a way. And, with the whole long, I know the whole long hair and having the beard is kind of his thing now. And I think it's kind of what he's known for. And John Wick started it with the whole, this look that he has, wearing all black. And with the hair and the beard. But I think it's fair to say, agree to disagree with the whole John Wick and Matrix.
You're getting mad at my top 5. That's my opinion.
It's your opinion, but it's wrong. Because Matrix is at number 5. If it was at number 2, I'll accept it.
What it is like with these other films, like for instance, the reason why I have Street Kings as number 2, and I can't believe I forgot about it. It's a really good cop film. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a really good, gritty, dirty cop film. And man, his character is really good. Forrest Whitaker is in it. Mm-hmm. This guy, he had, I don't know, he's an alcoholic, you know what I mean? And he's like, he doesn't care whether he dies.
Right.
That guy just goes in there and just like, he doesn't even know, he knows he's a dirty cop, but he doesn't know that he's working for dirtier cops, if that makes sense. Right.
It's been years since I watched the movie, so my memory on it is not too. I do remember him being an alcoholic. I remember him driving this nice car. Yeah. And I remember it being in LA and it being greedy.
And that's what I like.
Gritty.
LA, it shows like all areas of LA. It even has Chris Evans in it for a short period.
Does it really?
Common's in it. Common the rapper. We have to rewatch this. We'll do a review on this movie.
I would like
in
to
the
do
future.
That. I like to do.
Yeah, we'll do this in the future. This is just a brief summary of Keanu Reeves. So we'll still review all these movies in the future. But yeah, this is one we have to review because it's a hidden gem.
I forgot.
Not a lot of people know about this movie.
No.
But it's a really great, dirty, like gritty cop film. It's really good, and that's why I have a number 2. I have a special.
Hugh Laurie's in it.
Oh, that's right, Hugh Laurie, the guy who plays House. For you guys who don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He plays the
Cedric the Entertainer.
Yeah, Hugh Laurie plays the what are those cops that investigate cops?
Forensics?
No,
what?
No, they study blood stuff like that. No, the guys who investigate other cops. Internal Affairs.
All right. Naomi
one.
Harris is in it.
Oh, that's right. He plays Terry Crews's wife.
Mm-hmm. Terry Crews is in it.
Yeah, Terry Crews is in it. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a
game.
The game's in it.
He's in it.
It's a hidden gem, bro. It's a really good film. For me,
I mean, I remember watching the movie. I watched it 3 times.
Right.
2-3 times, and it is one of those little movies that went under the radar. Directed by David Ayer.
Yeah, David Ayer directed it exactly. So it's a really good film. Like, we'll review it in the future. But yeah, that movie, that's why I put that one in number 2, just because it shows a different part of Keanu Reeves that, like you said, like when he in that movie, he doesn't really talk much either. He has certain lines here and there, you know what I mean? But he doesn't really talk as much. And roles like that is what suits him, you know what I mean? For not saying that he's a bad actor, but with the way he is, the way he presents himself and all that, that works for him. Mysterious. The same thing as real life. Like, he's mysterious in real life. We don't really know too much about him. Like you said right now, he plays, everyone thinks he's a nice guy, but he could be a douchebag in real life.
Like a secret.
Yeah, but we know, I mean, I know he's not. We've seen instances where he's not. And the dude gave away, like, a majority of his payment from the Matrix movies to the guys who did all the effects in the film, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what cool guy, what douchebag would do that? You know what I mean? If he's not a nice guy, why would he do that? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, I love the films like that, and Street Kings is one of them, where it's just like, he's still a mysterious dude, and you want to know more about him, you know what I mean? And I love roles like that. Like, The Matrix had that too, but like I said, it was a whole ensemble, you know what I mean? And I love films with Keanu Reeves where it's just him.
Right.
Just him. You know what I mean? And I feel like Speed was like that as well when he was playing Jack. And then, of course, Point Blank is pretty cool too. But like you said, Patrick Swayze stole the show on that one. But I mean, I don't know. Keanu Reeves is just really cool guy. And that's why I made the list the way I did. Just because John Wick, Street Kings, and Constantine.
Because those movies had a different impact on you.
Right, and they have that mysteriousness of Keanu Reeves, and I like that. I love that. You know what I mean? I know that I don't know too much about him. Right. Because it makes me want to know more, and it makes me want to go watch his movies even more. Right. And there's a couple of actors like that I have the same feeling with, and it draws me to their films.
Finishing that thought. Well, actually, I think this is one answer we're actually going to agree on, or one question that we're probably going to have the same answer for. Mm-hmm. But I already know the answer. It's going to be the answer for the rest of these questions. But what's your favorite performance of his? Would it be John Wick?
Favorite performance? Oh, man.
And I'm gonna go ahead and answer this question. I'm gonna say it's John Wick.
Yours is John Wick?
As far as his performance, yeah. I do believe his performance is better than The Matrix. As far as his
So you're saying John Wick's better?
I think The Matrix is a better movie.
Okay. For me,
but John Wick is definitely
rewatchable. I would have to pick John Wick too, because
I mean, because like
that role
Speed,
was amazing.
I feel like Speed, he was obviously trying to still become the star that he is, you know?
Right.
He was playing this young, tough, I could do everything type of cop. And he kind of played the same thing in Point Break, but he kind of played more of this college, younger stud type of character. And the Replacements, it was almost the same thing. It's a good-looking quarterback, you know? And The Matrix, he kind of played this outcast guy who really didn't belong, who didn't have much going for him, you know, as far as when he was Mr. Anderson.
Right.
And I think, you know, in Constantine and Street Kings, I don't remember his performance in Street Kings that much because it's been years since I watched it.
It was a good performance.
Constantine, it wasn't nothing special. But I think John Wick is his definitely one, because it's the title character and he's all over the movie. There's not one scene that he's not in, you know, pretty much. So I would need to say that John Wick is my favorite performance by him.
Same. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy all of the other roles he's done, but this one is just, I don't know.
So I would say
blew me away.
I was gonna ask you also, what do you think is his best, or what was your favorite and best performance? But I think I would put those two together.
Yeah,
because I think those are my favorite, and I do think and believe that is his best performance.
I feel like it is.
Now, since we started these questions on a positive note, I'm gonna end it with one more, and then we're gonna kind of go a little, not too dark, but what do you think is his greatest accomplishment as far as his career in general? Just like, what do you think he was just like? Yeah, his biggest accomplishment. What do you think?
Like in film?
In his career.
I don't know. I don't know the guy.
No, just in his career. As far as you know, his career. Like, you know, he's never been nominated for any type of Oscar, right?
As far as I know, he's never been nominated for anything.
And I mean, and that's what I mean. Like, would it be The Matrix? Because it was just this big, really big movie that.
You know what his biggest accomplishment is I feel like he's an A-lister. He's one of those A-list stars. Mm-hmm. But he does not seem like one. Like he stayed really humble.
Right.
You know what I mean? He seems really grounded. If that's an accomplishment. That's an accomplishment for me. I feel like
as far as his career, I mean, yeah, I think I could agree with that.
I mean,
because him, you know,
how many people you know that we've seen that are famous and stuff like that could stay that way? You know what I mean?
That famous.
That big. Yeah.
I mean, because he is the A-lister. He's this big star where he could be on these big talk shows.
And he's so chill, dude. Like
he's so nonchalant about everything. He's just relaxed, and he just seems like somebody you just want to talk to for a quick, have a conversation with real quick, and then just, you know, and then get out of that conversation. That's it.
Like,
it's kind of like one of those people that you're looking forward to, that you hope that he goes to the barbecue.
I mean, the way I feel like is like I could meet this guy and get starstruck, but not be like, not have anything to say.
Kind of like intimidated.
Yeah, like I feel like I would be comfortable enough to talk to this guy because like he doesn't seem like he's like, he feels like he's better than you or anything like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I would say, you know what? Giving it thought, and that you brought that up, I think that is his biggest accomplishment. Him being under the radar, but still being one of the biggest stars.
Still being relevant.
For the last 20... I mean, there was, like you said, there was between John Wick and Matrix Revolutions.
Yeah.
Where he was kind of like out.
I wouldn't say out, but he wasn't making...
He just wasn't like in the
big
mainstream.
Films. Yeah, he was just making films that he wanted to do.
Pretty much. I mean, not that they're
because there's so many out there that he we didn't even name or list. There's so many films out there that he's done that I mean,
because he did The Lake House, which is like
The Lake House with Sandra Bullock, which is I not that I don't like it, but I was just going for my top 5, And I mean that one just doesn't reach it. It reaches my top 5 in like romance films.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a really good one.
You know what's cool about him is that he actually does do these little different parts. He does try to expand himself a little bit.
Yeah, he doesn't stick to the same thing. Like when people think of Keanu Reeves,
his action star,
but no, he has small roles, and like, or not even small roles, but he has films that is like just completely different from what everyone knows him from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you have these small indie films, kind of like To the Bone.
Right.
We were talking about
which he played a small part in, which is a Netflix.
It's a Netflix film, right? Which came out 2 years ago, maybe?
I think a year ago. And he plays the doctor in that. But yeah, he roles like that.
He has a small role in Something's Gotta Give.
That's right.
Jack Nicholson. He plays the doctor.
And then he plays what's that one movie Jim Carrey directed? Not
The Bad Batch.
The Bad Batch.
Did he?
I think
Jim Carrey. No, he's in it.
Oh, he's in it.
He's in it. I don't think he directed it.
Oh, I thought he did. But yeah, he's in the Bad Batch. I haven't seen it, but he plays different roles that people don't think of him playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then he has like smaller movies like Generation I don't know if you ever seen it.
Heard of it.
It was a super small movie that like it wasn't that big. It was on Netflix. I caught it once. There's actually
he did Replicas, which came out
like this year.
Yeah,
right?
In January.
Yeah, I mean,
which was a horrible movie, but
and like you mentioned earlier, he did sci-fi already with Matrix, but then he did it again with The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Right. And then,
but then he does international movies or foreign movies, like The Man of Tai Chi, which is a movie that we didn't mention.
Which 47 Ronin was one of them as well.
Which is another. It's kind of like a fantasy movie, I would say.
Which one? 47 Ronin?
47 Ronin?
Yeah, and then, like you said, Man of Tai Chi, where he plays a bad guy, which was... He played...
different.
Yeah, which was... If you guys never seen it, it's on Netflix. Man of Tai Chi. It's really good. He plays a really good villain in there.
It's actually the first time he played a villain, I think.
As far as I could think of,
I mean, I don't know if you would consider... What's his name in The Day the Earth Stood Still?
I don't think he wasn't a bad guy in that movie.
I think it was just portrayed that way.
And if anything, the people of Earth were the bad guys.
And then he did a thriller called Knock Knock that was directed by Eli Roth.
I haven't seen that movie.
Which is actually a decent movie.
I have not seen it.
The actress who's in which I haven't seen, that's in Blade Runner 2049.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
The blonde, the one with the short hair.
Oh, she plays one of the girls?
She's one of the girls, and also Eli Roth's wife.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's funny because it's kind of like a little tie-in together because you know how Eli Roth played the Bear Jew in Inglourious Basterds. His wife plays the Italian actress in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that Leo's married to.
Oh wow,
that's her.
That's cool.
So she's in that other movie called The Green Inferno, also directed by
Eli Roth. I haven't seen it.
But she's also gory. One of the chicks in Knock Knock, and it was a smaller movie. I mean, it has little problems, but it was a little thriller.
But that's what I'm saying. He does films like that. Only like really hardcore fans of his would know about. Like we know about it, but we just haven't had the time to watch any of them. Busy watching other films. But it's films that we're gonna go back and watch because it's Keanu Reeves. You know what I mean? And it's different aspects of Keanu Reeves. It's not the action Keanu Reeves that everyone knows.
And I wouldn't never put him like in my top 10 favorite actors of all time.
You wouldn't?
As far as like, no, I don't think I would.
For me,
if I were to give it good thought, I don't think I would.
If hopefully I become a director one of these days. He is one of the top actors I want to work with.
Oh, I would love to work with him.
But I'm telling you, he's in my top 5. He is my number 1 actor I want to work with.
But that's why I had mentioned earlier that I think you like him a little bit more than I do.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's great actors out there. There's so many actors I want to work with, but he's like, for some reason, I want to work with him.
Because I feel like with him,
he appreciates film.
I feel like he needs to be given the right material, though.
Yeah, if that's what I'm saying. Like, to this day, I'm trying to work on a film for Keanu Reeves.
Right.
You know what I mean? Something like how John Wick just came about. I feel like they made that movie especially for him, and look how well that worked out. So if I ever had the chance and I have something for him, I hope I could make it happen. That'd be really cool.
And another talking about knocking horror movies. There's another movie called Neon Demon. I don't know if you ever seen it.
Mm-mm.
Actually, with one of my favorite studios, which is A24.
Okay.
And he made a movie, but I think he also plays kind of like a villain. Kind of like this actress who Al Fanning from Super 8.
Right.
She plays this inspiring model, I guess, that goes to LA. But then there's this cult aspect to it where they try to take like their beauty and youth from the girls or something. And I think Keanu Reeves is like the head of this cult. I haven't seen the movie. That's all as far as I know about the movie.
That doesn't sound creepy at all.
No, but I mean, it sounds interesting.
That does sound. That's what I'm saying. Like movies like that. There's still so many movies out there with Keanu Reeves that we haven't seen, but we've heard of, that people should check out. I mean, I'm sorry we didn't have that on here. I just didn't want to be talking about films that
talk about his whole.
Yeah, and not only that, but I mean, if I haven't seen them, I can't tell you to go watch it. You know what I mean? I'm just giving you guys the list that I have that I've seen that I've enjoyed that you guys should go check out.
So I'm gonna hit you with these last three speed questions.
Okay. And
they're kind of little downer questions, but I'm curious. What do you think? What are your bottom 3 movies? Like, what do you think is his worst movies? Right? And what do you think is his worst? I have both these questions written down. His bottom 3 movies, bottom or 3 worst movies. His worst movie and his worst performance.
Okay, so what do you mean by worst film and performance? Like
just like the other movies. Like,
as far as like,
you think John Wick is his best movie and you think it's his best performance.
Okay, so you're talking about how well the movie performed in theaters?
No. I'm saying just your opinion on it. What do you think is his worst movie?
Oh, okay,
okay. Like, yeah.
Oh man, that's
hard.
He has a
lot.
He has a lot of films, but
he has a lot of bad ones. To be honest with you,
I feel like my personal one is the third Matrix Revolutions. I don't know. Compared to the first two, like I said, there's only parts in that film that I liked. Now I'm not saying that he did bad in the acting in that one, but like I feel like that's probably like one of the worst films for me. As far as the acting, man,
I know.
I'm not saying
as much as we love him.
Yeah, like I'm not saying he's not a bad actor, but compared to like other actors out there, like
I said, he has to have the right role.
It depends on the role that you're doing.
Because I think I would agree with that. I think the Matrix Revolutions is
his worst film.
Worst film. I'm gonna go ahead and answer because I have an answer. I have 2 answers for it.
Okay.
It's kind of cheating a little bit, but they're kind of tied. One of them would be Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I think is one of his worst.
Oh, you know what? That is his worst performance. Thank you.
Either that, or his character in The Devil's Advocate.
You didn't like him?
I didn't like his performance.
Was it his accent?
Yeah. I actually didn't like the movie. I actually don't like the movie.
You don't like The Devil's Advocate?
No, I don't. I don't care for it.
Oh, wow.
I can't say I dislike it. Maybe I need to give it. Yeah, maybe I need to just watch it one more time and give it another chance. But I would say probably Bram Stoker's Dracula's probably his worst.
That's his worst performance.
Because even trying to do that English accent.
Yeah, and that was weird.
And I don't know. You know what? Another movie, Much Ado Much Ado About Nothing is also another.
Never heard of it.
It's a Kenneth Branagh movie. It's the Shakespeare play that I told you that was about. Denzel's in it.
Okay.
And Kenneth Branagh's in it. Emma Thompson's in it. But Keanu Reeves just stands out on that because it's another movie where he has to make an accent.
Oh.
And he kind of plays this charming prince. From what I remember.
He just sucks at accents, I guess.
Yeah, and just Michael Keaton's in it too. And it's a small movie in the early 90s that his acting wasn't the best in.
Right.
But I think Bram Stoker's Dracula's probably his number.
Yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, that is his worst performance.
So what would be your bottom three?
My bottom three?
Well, so your number one worst movie of his would be Matrix Revolution?
Yeah, for me. I mean, I know it's kind of weird, but I just didn't enjoy that film at all. Like, it didn't have that impact how the first one did. I mean, the second one kind of still had it, but the third one just went off the rails, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that'd be my number one. Number two would be the Dracula. Number three, I don't know if I have a number three. Really. Number three would be all the other films that I haven't seen yet.
That's a good way to say it too.
So I don't know. If I haven't seen it yet, I don't know.
I agree with the first two options you say, and I would say his number three for me will be The Devil's Advocate. As far as the movies I've seen.
Right.
I haven't seen all the movies he's been in. Every single one, but as far as all the movies I've seen from him, I would say Matrix Revolution, number one. Number two, The Devil's Advocate, and then Dracula.
Okay.
Which is the bottom worst three movies of his that I would.
I feel like people don't like The Replacements.
I like it.
I know.
I feel like it's really rewatchable and really.
Yeah, I feel like that's another movie that people don't like. But I feel like it was cool. But I don't know, man. Overall, Keanu Reeves is.
Yeah, let's. What are your final thoughts about Keanu Reeves?
He is an amazing actor. Like you said, it depends on the roles he gets. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen movies where I never expected him to act this way. But I enjoyed it. You know? They're really cool. And I also enjoy those movies where, like I said, the characters are mysterious. And he plays those characters really, really well. But I feel because he's like that in real life. He's just a mysterious person, either by default. You know what I mean? Like, he's not really trying to do it, but he's just like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. Keanu Reeves is cool. I can't wait. I mean, I'm nervous about the new Matrix film, but I'm excited. It's Keanu Reeves in the Matrix again.
I'm in the middle.
Yeah?
I'm in the middle just because how the last one ended. But since I'm how big of a fan I am of the first one, and how Keanu Reeves has been having this renaissance, and the fact that the other two names that got connected,
right?
You know, that the director's coming back and Carrie-Anne Moss is also coming back.
Well, I mean, if anything, if that movie lets you down, just know there's 2 more John Wick coming out. You know what I mean? So
it will be okay.
Yeah, it'll even out. It'll balance itself out.
The life will be balanced after that.
But I mean, you know what? Keanu Reeves is cool. If you guys ever get a chance to check out these, if you haven't already, check out these movies that we listed. And there's so many more that we didn't bring up, just either because we didn't watch them or just because they didn't make our list. You guys should just go check it out. There's a lot of cool films out there. Like we mentioned, The Lake House. You could watch that. Ladies, you could watch that with your significant other. Same thing with the guys. You know, you want to watch a film with your significant other.
You guys could watch The Lake House by yourselves if you want.
That's kind of weird. But I mean, yeah, you could watch it by yourself. Yeah, whatever. If you're depressing, works. Yeah. If you're depressed. But no, man, Keanu Reeves overall is a great actor. I don't know personally, but I feel like he's like a good human being, as far as from what I've heard and seen.
Don't let the media confuse you, bro.
I don't know, man. He seems like a cool guy, and hopefully I get to work with him in the future. I don't know, man. What's your final thoughts on it?
Keanu Reeves has always been one of those actors that whenever I see his name connected to a movie, I'm looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. Just because he has this presence on screen that is different and that just makes you want to watch him and just kind of has you stuck and glued to the screen.
He's white Jesus.
That's exactly what it is. Brad Pitt has that, right? Like, that's another person that he has this presence that makes you just want to watch him, right?
Oh, yeah, and we'll get to that, yeah.
But Keanu Reeves, he's obviously, he's this good-looking dude, but he's not this pretty boy looking. He was in the 90s, but not so much after he got older. Brad Pitt always been this kind of, like, good, charming, like, Prince Charming kind of looking guy,
I don't know, man. I think Keanu Reeves is a vampire, man. He still looks the same.
Oh, no, that man does not age. But what I'm saying is his presence is different.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just... I've always enjoyed him. I'm always looking forward to new things that he's doing. I love him in the John Wick franchise. And I just think that he... As long as he gets the right role, he could never go wrong. Right. If it's the right thing that suits him and is something that he can actually put his foot in and really... grind, because that's what he did with John Wick, Right. He did the whole practicing with, they call it gun fu, with the whole guns and training with guns and just the martial arts aspect of it. You could tell he's a hard worker, and when he puts his mind into something, it's actually really worthwhile watching. Right. Because you could see the hard work put into it, definitely. And, it being my final thoughts, I'm always going to look forward to, and like how you said, if no one's ever watched this movie, you should. If you've never seen The Matrix, it's one of the best action movies out there. Same thing with John Wick. It's one of the best action movies of the last decade. Right. Like, it just really is. Just coordination, just everything. All of it, choreographed, not the coordination. Choreographed of all the martial arts scenes and the fighting scenes in it are just as great. Like, they both go hand to hand. And even though you and I disagreed as far as the placement of the movies, we could both agree that they're both great movies.
Oh, they're great films,
if you haven't seen all those movies, and I'm actually going to watch that To the Bone.
Check it out. You should check Street Kings again.
I'm going to rewatch Street Kings.
We'll do reviews on some of these films soon, but since we just pretty much went a whole list of Keanu Reeves, it might be further down the future. But next week, do you want to let them know what we're going to be, or I don't know next week, but the next podcast.
The next episode, yeah. Yeah,
it's going to be it's similar to this, but switching it up. Instead of an actor, it's a director.
Yeah, we're just going to be, we have a few names.
A couple people.
A couple names that we're going to do.
I think the number one, like one of the top ones is Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, only because Once Upon a Time just came out.
Recently, yeah.
Last month?
Right?
And I think it's just necessary to talk about him.
Not
just
only
how Keanu Reeves, he's just one of those people who were a big action star and then is still an action star for decades. And I think Quentin being a director and a writer, him changing kind of like the indie style. But anyways, when we get to the podcast, we'll talk about it more in detail.
Right. Just stay tuned. It's going to be pretty interesting.
No, but I'm glad that we talked about Keanu.
Yeah.
Because he is one of my favorite action stars.
He's really cool.
And it's always worthwhile watching him, and it's always worth it. And so.
Once again, you guys, we appreciate it. Just please continue supporting us. Subscribe to us. Like our videos. And we're going to be having some different formats coming up in the future. And we just hope you guys enjoy it. You guys have a good one. Thanks.
Yep. Later.